Good day everyone. In the previous lectures, we have discussed about energy meters, its construction, its working and its principle of operation. In today's lecture, we'll be discussing about the various testing methods of an energy meter. In that, we'll be discussing about creep test, starting test, long period dial test, short duration test and phantom loading. Discussing about the testing of energy meter, we can see that there are many steps and procedures that has to be followed to ensure that an energy meter is working properly. Now coming to the first step is that the current that we are giving, it should be 5% of the marked value. For example, if the rating of my energy meter is specified to be 10 ampere, then I have to give 5% of that current with the power factor value being unity, and I have to check at that condition. The second step is that the marked current value, for example, if it is 10 ampere, I have to give around 12.5 ampere and I have to check, that is with unity power factor, I have to check whether my energy meter can work or not. And then we have to go with one intermediate load, that is in between 0 to 10 ampere, any one value I'll take and I'll be using unity power factor, and I'll test my energy meter for this condition as well. And the fourth step, the fourth condition that has to be followed is that is, for example, if the rated parameter of my energy meter is 10 ampere, I have to apply 10 ampere and the load that I'll be connecting will be a lagging load with 0.5 power factor, and I have to check whether my energy meter is working or not. Then we'll be going for the creep test. The creep test is nothing but that is the applied voltage of 110% of its marked value is given. That is, the voltage will be 110% of the marked value, that is whatever parameter is specified, that's 110 value I'll be giving, and the current coil value will be open, that is there will be no that is there will not be any supply given to the current coil V, that is the pressure coil. Now at this condition, my disc that I have connected, it should not creep, because we have already discussed about creep adjustment. We have seen that two diametrically opposite holes are placed. At this condition, there should not be rotation of the disc, the aluminium disc that we have connected, and no energy should be recorded. This is the creep test. The next is starting test. Now for starting test, what we have to do is 0.5% of the marked value of current I have to give, and normal voltage, that is current's value will be 0.5 and normal voltage values I will be giving. And at this condition I have to check whether my disc has started rotation or not, because it is like in an energy meter, for some cases what we'll be doing is we'll be connecting AC loads, like AC will be connecting, so it will draw high current, so rotation I'll be getting. Now in some cases what I'll do is, for example, if I'm connecting a LED bulb of low wattage, at that time whether the disc is rotating or not, that also I have to ensure. Now for that we'll be going for the starting test. Then one more concept that comes into picture is phantom loading. Now why we'll be going for phantom loading? We'll be going for phantom loading because, for example, if the energy meter that I am going to use is having a rating of 220 volt and 10 amperes, now what I have to give is I have to give this much amount, this parameters I have to give. Now when I am giving these parameters, it is clearly understood, V into I directly, if I am doing around 2200 watts of power loss is there. Now this is a very great power loss just for the testing of an energy meter. So in that manner, if I am going in an industry which is producing energy meter, we can see that many meters will be produced and all these meter has to be tested, so a large amount of power loss is there. Now to avoid that, we will be going for the concept called as phantom loading. Phantom loading is nothing but, it is also in some places, some literatures, it is also called as ghost loading. Now for understanding phantom loading, what we will do is we will see the direct loading condition. Now let me show this. This is the direct loading condition of a energy meter. Now here we can see that the current coil is connected in series, the pressure coil is connected in parallel, and series and parallel across the load. Now in this condition, let us do some mathematical calculations. Now in the direct loading condition, we can see that the voltage value is 220, the current that is supplied is 10 ampere, the resistance of the pressure coil is 1000 ohm, resistance of the series coil is 1 ohm. Now let us look at into the calculations what all power loss is there. That is, when I am calculating power loss for the pressure coil, I will be using the formula V squared by Rp. Now from this I can clearly understand that the power loss is 48.4 watts in across the pressure coil, across the pressure coil. Now what I will do is I have to calculate what is the power loss across the current coil. Now for that I will be using V into I will be using, because I don't know what is the value of this resistance R. So for this complete path I will just check what is the power loss. Now V into I, doing V into I, get 220, that is 2200 watts I am getting. That is the total power loss is 2248.4 watts, that is 2248, approximately 2248 watts. Now in this condition what I will do is we will be going for phantom loading. Now this is the circuit for phantom loading. Now in phantom loading we can clearly see the current rating of the meter under test is high, and a test with actual loading arrangements would involve considerable waste of power. Now what I have to do is I have to avoid this waste of power. Now for that I will be going for phantom or fictitious loading. Fictitious loading means that is ghost loading, that is only that conditions I am instilling and exactly I am not giving the load. Now for that what I will do is I'll supply the pressure circuit from a circuit which is having the normal voltage level and current, that is as in the previous condition. As in the previous condition what I'll do, the pressure coil will be directly, it will be connected to a 220 volt supply, that is across the normal supply, and normal current ratings I'll be getting here. Now what I'll do is the current coil circuit, this current coil circuit will be connected across a low voltage supply, and this low voltage supply it will install, that is whatever amount of current has to be flowed, I'll connect a variable resistor, and using a variable resistor I'll make whatever amount of current I have to make it flow across the current coil, that is the current, that is in pressure coil for example normal supply I'll be giving, and for current coil the value of current I'll be achieving the value of current using a fake voltage supply or a low voltage supply. Now here we can see that the rated current can be circulated through the current coil with a low voltage as its impedance is very low. Now we can see that the total power supplied for the test is due to the small pressure coil current, because the resistance of pressure coil is very large, therefore small pressure coil current at normal voltage, and that due to the current coil circuit for a current which is supplied using low voltage. Now these two are responsible for whatever power loss is happening. Now let us calculate. Now here we can see that for pressure coil normal circuit we have applied, that is 220 volt 10 ampere. Now here we can see that the power loss is 48.4 watt. For current coil we can see that the voltage was a low voltage supply 9 volt and the current of 8 ampere is flowing. So here we can see that I am getting around a drop of 72 watts I am getting. Now totally we can see here that in this arrangement the power loss is of 120.4 watts. Now in the previous case we can see that it was approximately around 2 to 50 watt. Now here it is approximately around 120 watt. Now here we can see that in phantom loading case as compared to direct loading case the power consumption is very low, therefore we can easily go for phantom loading. So phantom loading is also one of the technique that we use when we are going for the testing of energy meter. Now there are various testing methods. Now we will see what are the different testing methods that I am having. The first test method, that is I will be calling it as method A. It is called as long period dial test. Now one thing that is to be noted is that it is called as long period dial test because the test is conducted for more than 1 hour. That is, for more than 1 hour, for long durations of time we will be conducting this test. Therefore it is called as long period dial test. Now why it is called as dial test? Because it is performed to check the gearing assembly and to ensure that the readings given by the registration mechanisms are correct. For example, when we are discussing about the construction, we saw that there was a driving mechanism. This driving mechanism used some gear assembly, something it used. Now all these gear mechanism, driving assembly, the registration mechanism, all this will be checked. Therefore it is called as long period dial test, and it is called as long period because it is for greater than 1 hour, and dial test because all the gearing, driving and registering assembly is is ensured whether it is checking properly or not. Now how we'll be checking this? Now for this what we'll be doing is a rotating standard meter is used to measure the amount of energy which is passing through the meter, that is which is passing through the meter being tested for a given time. Now how we'll achieve this? For example, that is across the supply, across the load, the two current coils will be connected in series and two pressure coils will be connected in parallel across the load. This is the load, for example, the current coil. This is the first energy meter and this is the second energy meter. The first energy meter, for example, let me take it to be the meter that I am testing, and let me take this to be the standard meter. Now this standard meter will register. For example, standard meter will measure some amount of energy. Now I will check. I'll compare with the standard meter whether the meter in test, whether it is showing the same supply or not. Now for this purpose what we'll do is we'll see that the meters will be started and stopped at the same time, because starting and stopping at the same time is very necessary to compare at the end of the test whether the reading shown is similar or not, or if any error is there or not. Now to calculate the error, what we'll do is, this is the formula that we'll use to calculate what is the percentage error. Now here we can see that dx is nothing but the registration of the meter under test, that is what value is registered or what value the meter under test is showing. S is the standard meter, what value the standard meter is showing. Now based on this, what I'll do is I can get what is the percentage error in the meter that I am testing. Now as these extend over long periods of time, it gives an opportunity to discover errors due to self-heating. Now we know that when the temperature rises, we know that the resistance also rises. Now because of this, that is when the meter is operating continuously for greater than 1 hour. So here we can know that because of self-heating, if any errors are included or not, or because of self-heating, is my instrument able to function properly or not. This can also be ensured in this long period dial test. Now after long period dial test, what we will do is, normally a short time test is at full load is done, that is to detect if any heating problems is there. That is, I'll be conducting my long period dial test. After that, a short time test is also done, maybe of 15 minutes, 5 minutes, to check if this heating is causing any errors or not. The second method of testing that I am having is, I am calling it as method B, or we'll be calling it a short period test. Now as the name suggests, it is short period test because it is less than 1 hour, maybe it will be 15 minutes or 5 minutes. Now here we can see that a rotating substandard meter is used. So as in the previous connection, we can see that the current coils will be connected in series, the pressure coils will be connected in shunt across the load. Now for example, this is my test meter, this is my standard meter, test meter and my standard meter. It is connected across the supply. So in this manner the connection is given. Here also we can see that the start and stop will be done simultaneously, and as these tests are carried out only for short periods of time, they are called as short period test. Now when I am going for short periods test, there can be two conditions. That is, what I will do is I will either count the revolutions of the meters, or that is the disc, that is the aluminum disc, how many revolutions it is making. I will compare for both the meters, that is for the test meter and for the standard meter. Or what I will do is I will check with what speed my aluminum disc is rotating. For both the meters I will check what is the speed. Now for example, let us go for the first, that is when revolutions are compared. Now when revolutions are compared, Rx by Kx is nothing but that it is for the that is for the test meter. Now Rx is nothing but the number of revolutions that is made, and Kx is nothing but, for example, if 100 revolutions means 1 unit, how many revolutions was done, that is how many revolutions will give one unit. For example, the number of revolutions is 10 and I know that 100 revolutions will give me 1 unit. So from this it is quite clear that the reading that I am getting is of only 0.1 unit. As this is for a short period of time, so it is not necessary that always the reading will be significant readings. Small readings will be there because of short period. So using this formula I can easily calculate what is the error. So Rx is the meter under test, RS is for the standard meter. Now using this formula, what I can do is I can calculate how much error is there. That is the test meter that I am using. Comparing the revolutions, I can clearly make out how much errors are there and what all corrections has to be done or what all calibrations has to be done. The next is when speed is compared. Now when we are talking about the comparison of speed, we can see here that nxt by kx, it is nothing but the energy which is recorded by the meter under test. This is for the meter, this is for the standard meter. Kx, nx is the speed of the disk, nx is the speed of the disk of the meter under test, and kx is nothing but the number of revolutions for number of revolutions to make 1 unit for the meter under test. Ks is nothing but the number of revolutions that has to be made for the meter, that is the standard meter. Now here we can see that the effect of increase in temperature, we can clearly see that there is the effect of increase in temperature, it can also be felt over here. Now using this formula, I can clearly make out what is the percentage error, that depending on the speed of the rotations of the disk. Now an additional requirement of method B is that is when I am talking about short period test. Now short period test, when I am doing, I have to see that I have to conduct one long period dial test. One long period dial test should be done, because in order to check whether the registering mechanism or the driving mechanism all are working properly or not, and with the effect of time, that is as the time period is increased, whether this will function properly or not. So using short period test, I can clearly determine what is the percentage error, and with this short period test, one long period dial test also has to be conducted. Now here also we can see that meter is again then subjected to a short time test at full load to check if any effects due to heating is there or not. That is as in long period dial test, as we have seen, full load conditions we will be giving to ensure whether heating problem was there or not. Same thing has to be done here to ensure whether if any heating problem is there or not. So this is the method B, that is called as short period test. Then method C, it is also called as calibration test. Now in calibration test, we can see that this calibration test is done for exactly 1 hour. So long period dial test is greater than 1 hour, short period test is less than 1 hour, it can be of 15 minutes, 5 minutes, anything, and calibration test is exactly of 1 hour. Now here we can see that a precision grade indicating instrument is used as the reference standard. Now these instruments are connected to the circuits of meter under test. That is as in the previous case, we have seen that the current coils will be connected in series, the pressure coils will be connected in shunt across the load. In that same manner, connections will be done here. Now here one more thing that we have to ensure is that the current and voltage will be held constant during the test. That is, there will be no variation in the current value and no variation in the voltage value. This value will remain constant throughout the duration of the test. Now we have to check the number of revolutions made by the meter disk during the test. This will be checked or this will be recorded, and we'll also measure what time period this current and voltage values were given. Now from here we can clearly make out that RS by Kx, it gives the what energy was used during the test. This gives RS by Kx, it gives the Rx is nothing but the number of revolutions made by the Rx is nothing but the number of revolutions made by the meter under test. RS is the number of revolutions made by the standard meter. Now here we can see that RS by Kx, it gives what is the energy recorded. This gives what is the energy recorded. Then we can see that for the indicating instrument, in the indicating instrument, for example, the voltage value was 10, the current value was 1, so it means that 10 watt of power was used. So for example, if it is for 60 seconds, what we'll do is into 60 we'll do, so we'll get what is the energy. Therefore kilowatt into time, this kilowatt into time gives what is the energy that was recorded. Now T is nothing but the time period for which this test was conducted. So here we can see that this gives the test meters energy, that is rotations divided by how many rotations should be undertaken for 1 unit, and then kilowatt into time. This gives the value for the standard meter. Now using this, what we can do is we can clearly make out what is the percentage error. Now a long period dial test is also required. Here also a long period dial test should be conducted to check whether the registering mechanisms and the gear assembly all is working properly or not. Now before conducting any of these tests on the energy meter, one thing that we have to ensure is that the potential coil, it should be energized for at least an hour, so that self-heating effects can be minimized. That this has to be ensured, that is whether it is method A, B or C, we have to ensure that the pressure coil, it should be energized at least for 1 hour, so that self-heating effects can be minimized. Now in method C, it is not necessary that both the devices that I am connecting should be energy meters. Now here one flexibility that I am having is, what I can do is I can use this to be the test energy meter, and instead of energy meter I can also use a watt meter here. Now using watt meter, that is precision grade watt meter, also I can calibrate the test energy meter that I am having. Now that is why here it is mentioned kilowatt into time. Instead of watt meter, I can use voltmeter or ammeter as well, and using this also I can carry out the test, that is method C test can be carried out. So these are some of the testing methods of an energy meter. So here we can clearly see method C is long period dial test. Now with long period dial test, a short period test also has to be conducted. Then the second is short period test. With short period test, a long period dial test has to be conducted. Then for self heating, for calculating heating full load, at full load condition we have to do same. Here for calculating the heating effects, self heating effects, we have to conduct a full load test, that is at full load condition we have to operate the meter, we have to operate. Then method C, here also we can see that in method C we will be doing the calibration test. We will be doing, after calibration test we will be doing a long period dial test. Again, to ensure about heating effects, we can we can give full load condition. At full load conditions we can operate our energy meter. So these are the three different type of testing that we will be doing for an energy meter. Also we have a technique called as phantom loading. Now when using phantom loading, it is clearly understood that the amount of power required for undertaking the test is drastically reduced. So we can also go for phantom loading. So other than this, we also have creep test and starting test. Now this starting test ensures that for very minimal values of current, will my disc start rotating or not. Creep test, it shows that if both the coils are not energized, that is pressure coil and current coil are not energized, will the disc start rotating. Now these are some different type of tests that will be doing to ensure whether my energy meter is working properly or not.